Sokka is one of the most complex characters in Avatar. He goes from being a misogynistic kid with daddy issues to helping the Avatar end a 100-year war, becoming the chief of the Southern Water Tribe, leading Republic City's council, and even getting a statue in his honor. The guy's a legend, but the newest Avatar projects kinda seem to reduce him to a caricature of himself. The Netflix series already did that, and now the new Avatar Aang movie kinda does it too. Now I know I am absolutely overthinking this. The movie is not about Sokka, it doesn't need him to have any type of character arc, and the benders versus non-benders subplot is happening in the background. But I really enjoy digging into storytelling choices like this, even if I know the practical reason behind why they happen. And I think the way this movie utilizes Sokka is surprisingly interesting because it accidentally ends up contradicting both Sokka's whole character and one of the movie's core messages. So let's get into it. But first, to see how Sokka loses his characteristics, first let's go over his defining traits. His story in the original series was about redefining what strength and value actually means in the Avatar world. When his dad left for war, Sokka was only 13. Before he even had the chance to be a kid, he was expected to become the man of the tribe and protect what was left of his family. The pressure explains so much of who he is at the beginning of the animated series. His arrogance wasn't confidence, it was a form of compensation for the lack of skill. His sexism came from idolizing the only role model he had left, his dad. He was desperately trying to become the warrior he thinks that his father would have wanted him to be, despite having no bending, no real training, and no idea what he's doing. Throughout the series though, this worldview slowly gets dismantled as we watch him mature. Suki humbles him and forces him to question his sexist beliefs. Yue teaches him that sometimes you simply cannot save everyone you love. Master Piandao shows him that being a warrior has nothing to do with bending, and slowly but surely, Sokka stops trying to become the strongest person in the room and starts becoming true to himself. By the end of the series, he realizes that his worth was never tied to bending. It was tied to doing the things that he's actually good at: leadership, strategy, loyalty, out-of-the-box thinking, and courage. That was the true Sokka. He was also extremely funny, yeah, but the humor was never his one and only trait. But that's exactly what the new movie seems to frame him as: purely comic relief. And don't get me wrong, I genuinely love this movie and I understand why they would make this choice for him, but I can't help but notice that not only is he reduced to the funny one trope, but worse than that, the movie strips him of the very qualities that would have made him the perfect character to reinforce and support one of the movie's side themes of equality between benders and non-benders. When we first see Sokka in the movie, he's hanging out with a bunch of kids in the Southern Water Tribe, showing off his newest invention. Remember that this is the same man who escaped what was supposed to be an inescapable prison, the same guy who helped plan the invasion during the Day of the Black Sun. Yet there he is, hanging out with children who barely seem interested in anything he has to say. It's like we're back in season 1 of the original show. The scene frames him as someone whose ideas aren't really taken seriously, not by kids, not by the story, and certainly not by anyone important enough to help bring those ideas to life. And that already feels like a strange place to start. It's like in the past 12 years, he just stagnated. When the kids ask him why would the Avatar pair with a non-bender, Sokka starts listing everything he did during the 100-year war. And of course, the kids don't believe him. The movie itself doesn't acknowledge his accomplishments. The story is literally made up of JoJo references, so he's used for jokes right off the bat. Imagine helping end a century-long war and everybody forgets that you were there to the point where they think you're lying when you're trying to tell the story. This is weird because Aang himself opens the movie by talking about Sokka's courage and leadership. If the Avatar told everyone the story of how they won the war, why was Sokka forgotten so fast? But even if we ignore all this, the issue with this scene is what it represents. The kids aren't there to learn from Sokka, they aren't curious about his invention, they aren't interested in hearing stories from someone who changed the world, they're just there to show us that nobody takes him seriously. And the invention itself has its problems too. Part of Sokka's character arc is built around accepting that he doesn't need to imitate benders to matter. So giving him a machine whose mechanics seem to imitate bending feels kind of backwards, because the movie itself introduces a subplot about non-benders feeling inferior to benders. So why is your most iconic non-bender building a machine that imitates bending by using fire, air, and water instead of showcasing, you know, the unique strengths only a non-bender can have? It's kinda contradictory. The bike itself also becomes a way for Sokka to support Katara. He uses it to attack with water, basically delivering it to her so she can keep fighting. And then that's basically it. Like, we never see him use the bike as his own weapon again. This invention doesn't become an extension of Sokka's own strength. It becomes something to help Katara with and has a fraction of the bender's power. Sokka's moment is kinda weak here in my opinion, and I'm so mad because like he's such a goat, he deserved better, and the rest of the team was so much better represented. He feels kinda left out. And the fight choreography reinforces this idea as well, even if unintentionally. During the fight against Taga, Toph and Katara repeatedly assist Sokka, and only Sokka. Visually, it's like a really good sequence that shows Team Avatar working together and using their bending to support one another, which was so cool. But if you compare it to the rest of the fight, no other member of the group is framed this way. I actually went back and checked, and this makes me feel less like the team is executing a coordinated strategy and more like Sokka is being helped out because he's the weaker member of the group. I don't think that was intentional at all, by the way. I'm just looking too deep into this, but hey, visual storytelling communicates ideas, whether it means to or not. And here, the choreography ends up reinforcing the exact hierarchy between benders and non-benders that the movie is trying to challenge. Even during the ship sequence, where you would expect Sokka's strategic mind to shine, he mostly reacts to what's happening around him. He waits for Zuko to tell him what to do. And the movie even turns him steering the ship with his feet into another joke.
Steered with his feet.
And yeah, it's funny, but it's just another example of how the movie treats him as comic relief before anything else. The other members of the Team Avatar still feel like themselves, even if they too don't get much screen time. Katara is still compassionate, protective, and quick to anger. Toph is still stubborn, confident, and proudly independent. Zuko still carries that constant sense of honor and responsibility, and their stories aren't the focus of the movie either, but their personalities really shine through. But Sokka's the only one who feels reduced to a trope, and that's why he stood out to me. And that's a shame because the movie had already set up the perfect opportunity to remind us that Sokka is an important member of the gang. The non-benders are feeling powerless. If there's a character uniquely qualified to speak to their frustration, it's Sokka. He could have reminded everybody that non-benders fought alongside the Avatar and defeated the Fire Nation, but instead that role of peacemaker goes to Katara, and I actually understand why. Katara has always been the emotional heart of Team Avatar, so it makes perfect sense that she would reach out to Khalik. But even in that scene, she tells Khalik, "You have the power now, you decide how to use it." The intention is to encourage Khalik to use her new airbending for good, but because the conversation centers on bending as the source of that power, it unintentionally weakens the movie's message on equality. The conflict wasn't supposed to be solved because a non-bender finally became a bender. It was supposed to challenge the idea that bending is what gives someone power in the first place, and that's exactly the perspective that Sokka could have brought to the story if he was allowed to have the speech instead of Katara. But instead, the movie introduces a conflict that feels tailor-made to his character and then barely lets him participate in it. His role is mostly reduced to cracking jokes and building gadgets, while the emotional and thematic weight of the non-bender storyline is carried ironically by benders. This is a phenomenon usually called flanderization, when one trait becomes the character instead of being part of their complex personality. And I think that's what happened to Sokka here, because Sokka was never just comic relief originally. He was a leader, a brother, a loyal boyfriend, a kid who missed his dad and wanted to make him proud. That's the Sokka we fell in love with while watching Avatar, and that's the Sokka I wish this movie portrayed more. Okay, I definitely overanalyzed the side character in a movie that it's not even about him. I just want to say that I genuinely adored this movie. It is really special to me, and you can tell that it was made with so much love for the Avatar world. This video is just the kind of stuff I enjoy talking about. You know, sometimes I look too deep into tiny storytelling decisions, and this was just one of those times when I'm nerding about one of my favorite characters.